Red River tonight and a little further east tomorrow. We'll look at the chance for any of it to reach Dallas or Fort Worth. And the Texas Rangers fans are fired up for what they hope will be a winning season. It is already a high-scoring opening day at the ballpark and a lot to talk about with a new roster and new rules.
Here for you, Fox 4 News starts now.
All right, we begin with breaking news. Former President Donald Trump has been indicted by a Manhattan grand jury. He is the first former president to be charged with a crime. The grand jury voted to indict the former president this afternoon for his role in paying hush money to a porn star. The indictment remains under seal, and the former president's legal team has already been notified. The former president will likely be given the chance to surrender and face arraignment before the charges are officially announced. The exact charges remain unknown at this time. The case goes back to his 2016 campaign when the president allegedly had his attorneys pay $130,000 to porn star Stormy Daniels so she'd keep an extramarital affair quiet. It was before he became president, when he was campaigning for the presidency. This is one of several investigations into Trump's possible illegal behavior. He is under investigation in Georgia for his attempts to overturn election results. And a special counsel is investigating his possible mishandling of classified documents. We're going to go to Zoom now, a Zoom call. We've got constitutional law attorney David Cole to talk with us about it and what's likely to come next. David, thank you for being with us. You're right you're on our speed dial today. We had to get hold of you. Thank you. All right, first give me your general thoughts on, I guess, the magnitude of this moment. It's a first, but as a surprise.
Well, I can't say as it comes as a surprise, these particular charges. As a moment, as a nation, and for our legal system, it is, as you said a minute ago, unprecedented. We've just never had this happen before, to have a former chief executive of the country face criminal charges. And not just that, but charges related to the campaign by which he sought the presidency. And it puts in clash with each other very basic things about what state prosecutors can do, what their roles are, how much latitude you have to run a business, what kind of respect we should have for former office holders after they leave office. A lot of basic principles are going to get a lot of discussion now that we've never given this kind of focus to before.
Let me ask you about that. There is no respect between political parties and a lot of acrimony. And that goes to states and people. And, is it going to be less respected because it's a New York grand jury as opposed to a Texas grand jury? This is a new area that we've got to deal with because politics is not nice anymore.
Oh, it totally is. I mean, historically, we've said, look, once people leave office, we need to just kind of let that go because we don't want to get into this so-called banana republic thing where we're always bringing charges against the last guy that was in office. Now, of course, Nixon was pardoned, so we didn't go down that road, and Gerald Ford may have lost his chance for re-election because of that. But that's how important that principle has historically been. And every argument that Donald Trump and his team can make that this is politically motivated, they're going to make to try to defend their client and get him off the hook on these criminal charges. It's going to put this DA's office under a lot of scrutiny and make us think about, just because you can bring a charge, should you bring the charge, is the real question we're going to be arguing about.
Right. All right, so let's talk about the criminal charges. We don't know what they are. About 2 p.m. today, though, prosecutors returned to the court carrying a penal code book with sticky notes on pages. The assumptions were they would read different statutes to grand jury members to see what, if any of them, they thought might fit the case, and they apparently have thought some of them do. So what are the possibilities here, do you think?
But we've seen some trial balloons come up in the last few weeks, and it seems like what they're saying is that the Trump organization, at the direction of Donald Trump, did funny business with its books to conceal this payment to Stormy Daniels and what it was for and who was doing it, and ran it through some funny companies and that kind of thing. On the one hand, it's kind of like, who cares? It's not a publicly traded company. But on the other hand, Michael Cohen went to jail because of this same situation and related federal charges. And so there's a lot of back and forth about, is this the kind of crime that usually is charged and at the felony level? There are arguments both ways about that. But that's the nature of the crime, is it's an accounting type crime. Funny books, funny bookkeeping about the Stormy Daniels payment to keep it out of the public eye. Obviously, it didn't work very well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Cohen. Does him going to jail over the same crime does it naturally, that had to play into the grand jury's decision, but how does that play in court? Does it matter?
Sure, in theory, it has nothing to do with it. That's a separate crime, separate individual, that sort of thing. But practically, in the court of public opinion, the DA is going to have to say in public, look, I'm not doing this just because I'm a political animal. I'm doing it because it's a legitimate crime. And he can point to that and say a serious person, well represented, pleaded guilty to criminal charges about related activity. Different offenses that happen to arise out of the same action. It's not really relevant legally, although Michael Cohen, I suppose, may testify in the case. But in the court of what we think about it, it does help the DA's side of that debate for sure.
All right, let me ask you then to kind of wrap this up. What are you watching for? What happens next that you'll be able to say, oh, that means this, or now we know how this will play out? What are you going to be watching for over the next couple of days?
Well, the most immediate thing is, just out of curiosity, how they handle the logistics of this. I mean, just think about it. You go to arrest somebody who's being guarded by the Secret Service. We've never had that happen before. Right. So there's just the logistics of it are remarkable. But then what exactly is being charged and when they think they want to go to trial with it? If the prosecutors come in like, I think they will, and say, here are the crimes we want to go to trial like right now, that'll show they're serious about it and it's not a political thing. If they seem like they want to just kind of let it roll, that's going to leave them open to a lot of political criticism. All
right. Next thing will be, we know the former president said 2 weeks ago, I believe, that he was going to get arrested on Tuesday, if you remember that, and it doesn't seem likely that the cops are going to show up at his door. They will try to get him to surrender.
Yeah,
most likely,
there's
right?
a lot of communication going on there to avoid a scene, but New York procedure has certain requirements too, and they're obviously negotiating with each other about that to get it done without kicking up some great big fuss in the process.
Right. All right, David Cole, thank you very much for being available to us and good information. Thank you so much. All right, here's something we saw today, a little bit of weather. We're not likely to see much severe weather in North Texas with the rain this evening and the storms tomorrow. Most of the rain will stay